Hello, Salesforce Developers, and welcome back to our Salesforce Developers YouTube channel. I'm really excited about our topic today, which is going to be bring your own model to Data Cloud using Einstein Copilot Studio. Okay, so I have some excellent guests that are here. We have two product managers as well as one of our developer advocates, Mohit, that are here with me today on stream. But before I bring them on, I just want to show our forward-looking statement real quickly. Where's it at? There it goes. So remember to make all of your purchasing decisions based upon what is available in the product today, and not based off of what may be coming in the future, what one of our product experts might say is coming in the future. And I think they have a slide for this as well. But just wanted to show our forward-looking statement. Also, don't forget to connect with us. And here's the QR code to connect with us on our salesforcedevelopers.com website. And also, don't forget to join our wonderful Trailblazer community. So our Salesforce Developers Trailblazer community is an amazing community of developers. You can ask your questions. You can get questions answered. There's a lot of dev advocates like myself that hang out there and interact with people in the community and answer questions as well. Okay, now without further anticipation, I'm going to bring on our experts. Say hello to Sharda Rao. Hi, Sharda.
Hi.
And also say hello to Daryl. Hello, Daryl.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
And hello to my fellow dev advocate, Mohit.
Hey, everyone.
All right. So we have our experts here today, and they have an amazing demo to show you, as well as some slides, and to give you just a good background on how you can use Einstein Copilot Studio and build your own AI models. So really exciting stuff. So let's just take a quick look at the chat before we jump in. So it looks like we have Magesh, Amala, Niket on stream so far that have been interacting. Hello to you all. And hello, Mike, as well. You have a shout out here, Sharda, from Mike.
Mike and I go way back. We work together.
Awesome. So, and let's go ahead and hand it over to you, Daryl, to get started. All right, here we go.
All right. Thank you very much, Danielle. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bring Your Own Model with Einstein Copilot Studio. Before we begin, I'm sure you've seen this slide before, and Danielle showed it as well, but please make purchasing decisions made on currently available products and services. My name is Daryl Martis. I'm the Director of Product for Einstein AI at Salesforce. I'm based out of New York, and I've been with Salesforce for 2 years now, and I previously worked in the financial industry. Sharda?
Hi, I'm Sharda, and I'm a Distinguished Solution Engineer here at Salesforce. My expertise lies in analytics, data science, and machine learning. I work with customers so that they can see the value of Salesforce analytics within the flow of work, where they can use data-driven insights to take actions within Salesforce.
And you already know Mo. Mo, is there anything you'd like to say about yourself, or?
No, I'm a developer advocate. I stream a lot of these. But today, I'll pretend as if I'm a machine learning enthusiast and trying to learn machine learning myself.
Awesome. And for those of you that may not know me, I'm Danielle Origi, Senior Developer Advocate here, focusing on mostly the Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud platform. So go ahead and send it back to you, Daryl.
Great. Thank you. Over the last few years, customers have been rethinking their AI strategy. But there are several challenges to providing value from AI. Some of these challenges are disconnected data, for example. The average company has about 1,000 different applications. Many of them provide a siloed and fragmented view of their customers, which leads to poor experiences. This also leads to integration challenges. There's also a limited amount of AI and ML specialists to go around. The other challenge is that there's also a whole host of security questions that come into play. Where is my data going? Will it be used to train external AI models? There's also the fear of hallucinations. Is my AI model giving me the right output? And finally, will the AI be customized to my company and my use case? What also compounds this problem is that our customers need to unlock return on investment from their AI fast. So customers generally want the ability to bring their existing models. They also want the flexibility to use the tools and frameworks that they know and love. And finally, they want to focus on code and not operation. This is why I'm proud to announce that we've introduced Einstein Copilot Studio Model Builder for Data Cloud. With Einstein Studio, you can bring in your AI models from leading AI platforms such as AWS SageMaker, Google Vertex, Databricks, etc., back into Salesforce. You can then train models on your Data Cloud data within these platforms with no ETL required. You can also use it within Flow, Apex, and other AI to action tools once it is back in Salesforce. So we have GA with AWS SageMaker today. We will GA with Google Vertex in October, and we will also pilot a no-code model builder in October, which I will talk about later. Let's talk a little bit more about Data Cloud before we dive in. Data Cloud works by connecting and harmonizing all your customer data into a single view, so you can truly know your customer's activity and preferences. Then you can activate this unified real-time data across the customer 360 to power tools such as Einstein and Einstein GPT to deliver smart and efficient AI. When you bring these tools together, you can deliver more personalized and relevant customer experiences. So how does Data Cloud work? Data Cloud works by connecting all your data with built-in connecting data from any source. Once the data is connected, you're able to extract rich customer insights through, for example, Tableau. Then you can put these insights to use through our customer-aware AI to drive personalization. And you can then automate that data throughout your entire business to drive productivity and efficiency. Altogether, this leads to fast, seamless, intelligent, and personalized experiences for your customers. Here's an architectural view of how Model Builder works. From Data Cloud goes to your AI platform in a zero-copy fashion, whether it be AWS SageMaker or Google Vertex. That data can then be used to train models, and these can be either predictive or generative fine-tuned models, for example. These predictions and recommendations from these models can then be brought back into Einstein Studio and be used within Salesforce, for example, like I mentioned, with Flow, Apex, etc. All right, over to you, Shada.
Thank you, Daryl. Next slide, please. Okay. Mohit, can you share your screen? Perfect. So as Daryl mentioned, with Data Cloud, you can bring in data from these different sources and create that unified view of your customer. Now with Bring Your Own Model, you can enhance your machine learning experience, where common use cases are around predicting your next best product, propensity to convert if it's a lead or an opportunity, propensity to deepen your relationship with your customers, upselling and cross-selling, what next product can you sell to them, what's the propensity for them to buy a certain product, propensity to churn, as well as sentiment analysis, and much more. You can build more on your use cases, but these are some of the use cases that we thought we would put out there. And the beauty of this is your data scientists in your organization could build a model based on the algorithm as well as the process of hyperparameter tuning the way they want. They can create the endpoint, and then now you can bring that richness into Data Cloud, where you can use the predictions to then use the power of Salesforce platform to manage flows and activations and marketing segmentation. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. In today's demo, we are going to walk you end to end of how you can utilize this feature with BYOM in Data Cloud. So for this use case, somebody unshared. Mohit, are you sharing?
Mohit, it just briefly dropped the connection. So here we go. Could have been. There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just see a question here. They appear to be mainly predictive models. Is it possible to host or train a foundational model that can be used for generative AI? The answer is yes. If you can build your generative AI model within SageMaker, then you could use the endpoint to then score the model here. And Daryl, do you want to add something about the trust layer?
Yes. So we are going to integrate this with our trust layer early next year. So any PII information, etc., any of that will be masked and taken away before it's sent to any of these large language models. So and then once that trust layer is in February, I believe it's next year, you will also have toxicity detection and all of those other great things that the trust layer provides. So we would recommend using these generative AI models once we do have the trust layer available in February. But you can still use them right now.
Thank you, Daryl. So in today's demo and walkthrough, we are going to look at a fictitious company, Northern Trail Outfitters. They are a retail merchandise company, online store, and then they are prominent Salesforce customers with multiple clouds across the organization. They have sales and service and marketing cloud. And they've used Data Cloud to already build and unify their data to create that true customer 360. And now with that rich data, they want to use machine learning to have to have targeted promotions and what products that they can offer to the customer. And based on the recommended product, they want to send targeted marketing emails along with, for high value customers who are actually club members, they want tasks created for their service agents so that those service agents can call on them and give that white glove treatment. So you will see how you can use BYOM in Data Cloud to achieve this.
Awesome. Looks like really, really cool stuff. So we do have a question in the chat. It's probably a little bit unrelated, but related to Data Cloud. So how important of a role would MuleSoft play in Data Cloud? Can you share some use cases? So MuleSoft is just one of the ways that you can ingest data into Data Cloud. So we have some of our out-of-the-box connectors, and MuleSoft is one of the out-of-the-box connectors. So basically any system that MuleSoft can connect to using the Anypoint platform, you can ingest data from that system using our MuleSoft connector as long as you have MuleSoft in place. And that does use Data Cloud's ingestion API to get in the data. We will maybe be working on some content in the future to show you how to do this. Right now, we don't have anything out there specifically on the MuleSoft use case, but that is the role in which MuleSoft has to Data Cloud. So thanks for that question, Magesh. And then it looks like there's another one here. There are already some connectors which are present in Data Cloud. So when should an organization leverage MuleSoft in their Data Cloud driven model? So basically, you should use MuleSoft in place of, if there's already an out-of-the-box connector like Salesforce or Commerce Cloud or Marketing Cloud, we obviously recommend to use one of those connectors. But some people want to use the ingestion API if they need to create their own custom connector. But if there is a, was that me that dropped? Was that me that dropped? Okay, that was me that dropped. Okay. Whew. Sorry about that, everyone. Maybe a little bit of a Wi-Fi issue going on or a restream issue. So sorry about that. But there are already some connectors which are present in Data Cloud. So when should a connector be leveraged in MuleSoft? So basically what I was just explaining, and I don't know how much got explained before the internet drop. And I just got a brand new internet in this room just for dedicated streaming. You know how dedicated I am to this life now that I just got like my own private Wi-Fi network. So the house actually works off of a different Wi-Fi. This works off of my dedicated Wi-Fi, but it's still dropping. So to answer the question, basically we already have out-of-the-box connectors. And when you can't use one of those out-of-the-box connectors, you might have to use the ingestion API for a point-to-point integration between Data Cloud and the ingestion and another source system. However, if you're already a MuleSoft customer and you're already, running the majority of your integrations in MuleSoft, that's where the value comes in into just using MuleSoft as opposed to doing a point-to-point integration. And also, MuleSoft is a little bit easier for some people with it being already having the connector out of the box for Data Cloud, and also with not the need to code the whole integration. So there we go. All right, let me see what all, so we still have this up on the screen. Okay, So where we go to next? We have another slide. I think I just lost Sharda, actually. You there, Daryl? Can you hear me? You're fine.
I can hear you. Yeah. Let me
I think
see.
we just, yeah, Sharda just dropped. But live streams, we'll just hang out here and talk to the chat while we get Sharda back. Yeah, you're welcome, Magesh, and sorry about our technical difficulties. I hope those explanations came through good amidst the technical craziness. So
And maybe we can take any more questions.
yeah, that's what I'm looking at in the chat. So
I think Sharda is coming back.
Sharda is back. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome back, Sharda.
Thank you. Thank you. So sorry about that internet connection. And then
it hit us in waves. It hit Mo, then it hit me, then it hit Sharda. Okay, Daryl, you're next.
I hope I'm not.
Okay. So we are we going to a slide next, Sharda?
Yes,
Or
yes,
okay,
next
we have
slide.
another slide. All right.
So this tells you the process, the end-to-end process, how it works. So you use Data Cloud to harmonize and unify the data. Then you have your training data set. Then within SageMaker, you're going to ingest that data, build your model, train your model, and then create the endpoint. Once the endpoint is created, you can then deploy within Einstein Studio. And then you can personalize and act, because now it's back into Data Cloud and Salesforce. You can create activations and you can create flows where you can create those tasks. So that's how your end-to-end process will look like. Next slide, please. So just to give you a background around the data part of this. So for predicting a product interest, for in this particular use case, we are using historical purchase data. And so the kind of data that you are going to need for this kind of analysis would be customer demographic data, like where they live, the gender and the age group, their previous CSAT, if any, their loyalty status or their engagement score with your company. And then you have some case related information. For example, if for their last purchase, they returned the shipment or the shipment was damaged, then these are certain cases that they may have raised. So using that is again very critical to see what kind of products or whether they're even going to buy from you or not. And then purchase history, what they purchased in the last year or so, or the last 6 months or so. And then their website engagement, how many times are they logging into their account, and how many pages on their website are they even clicking, how are they shopping. So this kind of information is across, right? So demographic information could be from Salesforce Core, cases from Service Cloud, and then a purchase history from Commerce Cloud, as well as engagement from Marketing Cloud. So you have data from these multiple different sources, which Data Cloud brings and combines for you. And then you have your training data set, which you could use to train your model. With that, now let's go to the demo.
Okay.
Let's go to the Salesforce instance now, Mohit. So you all know this. This is Data Cloud, right? So you have your data streams and your DLMs, and so now you can see the data is brought in, combined, harmonized, and now you have this training data set. Now, before SageMaker can go and read this data, right, you need to allow those permissions. So the first thing that you need to do is go and create a connected app. And before I go more into detail about this, there is a blog post that has been written, which is step by step and takes you through this step by step with the data set and everything. And that's Daniel is going to flash that as a QR code and you can scan it. But that gives you all the details as to how you can build this whole process.
Right there in your top left corner. I don't know if I'm actually pointing right, like up there. Is the QR code. So I'll leave it up there for a little while for you all to scan.
Okay, so once so the instructions are that you have to create a connected app, and within the connected app, you need to give permission to your SageMaker domain URL. So that's where you need to set up all these connections where SageMaker can then read the data. So that's what you need to do. Instructions are there in that documentation. Once you do that, you now need to go to your AWS account. So Mohit, please launch your AWS account. Go to Management Console, then go to AWS SageMaker. And you'll have to create a domain with all the permissions. And again, the steps are detailed there. So once you create your domain, you can launch your studio. Now here you are in SageMaker Studio, right? So the first thing you need to do is now to read the data. And before that, what AWS has done for you is to make things simple, has created a project. So the first thing you need to do is go create a project. And here you will see model deployment for Salesforce. Select that. And this will create a copy of the entire repository, which means the CSV file, as well as the notebook that is used to train the model and all the instructions. So it takes a little bit of time to create this in your AWS account. So we're going to open a pre-created one for you. And once it's created, what you're going to see on the left, you see an inference PY file as well as a flow file, which is the data wrangler flow file. You'll have a notebook and you'll have the CSV used to train. So please, once you do it at your end, you'll see all of this and feel free to just take a look at the code and everything.
Okay,
So
just real
mhm.
quick, I'm just going to pause because we have a question before we get too far down. So I'll just show the question. So just to confirm, so can you explain the flow of data here? Does it start with the interaction with some Salesforce UI element? What is the trigger for the ML learning / predicting?
So so the first step right now, what we are doing is we are actually creating the model, and the model is created based off your historical training data set, which was in Data Cloud, and we are reading it into AWS SageMaker and building the model. The trigger, or once the model is created and the endpoint is created, as new records are created in Salesforce and Data Cloud DLMs are updated or DLLs are updated, the trigger is that you will start scoring the models. As data changes in Data Cloud, the model will get activated and you will be scoring your records. Did
And
that answer your question?
the model still lives within the platform. It is the inferences, for example, the predictions, recommendations, those come into Salesforce itself. Go ahead, Shard.
Yeah, keep going. Nothing new in the chat yet, so keep going.
Okay, hopefully I answered that question. But so here, once you're in it, so let's first show you how you can bring the data into AWS SageMaker. So open up a flow, say import data. Then here, because you created a copy of the project and you have this data connector right here, Salesforce Data Cloud Connector. So select that. You need to give it a name as well as your org URL. So the Salesforce org from which you want to read it, the URL needs to be put in here. Once you do that, you'll see all the DLLs and DLMs right here on the left. You can query that data using a SQL statement. So you can just say select the fields that you want from the DLO or DLM name. Say run. And here you can preview the data. So all the fields came in. Now let's say you are querying the individual object and then you don't want to bring in all of the fields here. You can select which fields you want to bring in for training your model too. So you just have to give the API name of the field and say select all of these and bring that in. And then once you select create data set, you can then start pre-processing your data. Now, Mohit, can you just open up the product recommended flow? Yeah. And then with Data Wrangler is very intuitive. You can actually start processing the data. Now, let's say that you want to cast your data type. So it reads it as numeric. You want to cast it. So you can cast that data here, right here. It has some pre-built functions you could use. It takes some time to load, but here you can see the different data types. And you can change that here and it will all get recorded from the UI. Now, let's say you want to then look at that data. So go to analysis, and here you want to look at where you want to do some data exploratory analysis of the data. So let's select product purchased, and then run it. Now, here you will see how your data is distributed. So, as part of building or training a model, you need to do some exploratory data analysis and see how these predictors interact with your outcome variable. All that you can do right here with this UI.
This is super cool.
It is, it is. And once you go back to data, yeah. And then here you could drop columns, right? Suppose you, based on your exploratory data analysis, you find a column is not necessary, it's not having any kind of correlation with your outcome variable, you want to drop it. You can drop that right here. You can look at missing values and drop those missing values, or you can impute the missing values. All that you can do from the Data Wrangler UI. And then the one thing I really like is so cool is you can write your own functions, Spark SQL functions. So here with this, I want to bucketize some information, and I want to see, I want to look at all the states and bucketize some of the states into one other category. All that I could do with Spark functions right here. And it's a familiar UI for data scientists where they just use the data frame. So you can really create some enhanced formula fields to process your data or pre-process your data. And finally, once you have your data, if you have categorical variables and numerical variables, you need to process it so that the computer can understand or your algorithm can understand that. So numerical variables, you want to scale them. Again, you just have to click a button here and choose the columns you want to scale. It will scale it for you. And it will also one hot encode your categorical. And by that, what it means is that if a variable has a gender, male and female, and you want to one hot encode it, then it will convert it into two columns and one hot encode it for you and make it ones and zeros. And then you can preview all of that data right here.
Awesome. Awesome.
And once you save this flow, this becomes part of your post-processing step. So you don't have to actually create this process two times, because the project will automatically make it part of the post-processing steps at some later on when you're creating your endpoint. Now, once you've done that, now comes the nice part of training your data. So open up the notebook, please. Okay, here you just have to load that pre-processing flow that you just created. And then again, this code is available to you when you make a copy of the repository. Just change the name of the flow to the flow that you want. Then scroll down a bit. You need to set up some environmental variables, some helper functions. All of these are pretty standard as part of SageMaker. And then you have to upload that flow data file into an S3 bucket. So keep scrolling down. And if you're going to make a copy and run your own, you don't have to do too much with all of this except change the flow name. The rest is all just environmental variables. And you're setting up your processing job. Further down, please. Okay. Now you want to define your path for S3 and then create your data frame. Keep scrolling down. Yeah. Now this is my favorite part. This is where you start looking at your data. In this case, from the data frame, I'm dropping the outcome variable because the outcome is product purchase. Historically, that's your outcome variable. In the new data, you want to predict this. So you're dropping it from your X, which is the predictor data set, and then you're assigning Y as your outcome. And then you're going to, as part of the building a model, you have to split the data and test it. So you're doing all that test train split. You want to use, in this case, I've used random forest. You could use XGBoost or any other. You could use hyperparameter tuning. You could test the different algorithms on your data and see which one is the best algorithm that fits your data. In this case, it's random forest. And then you run this. It'll tell you the accuracy of the model. And then you can save or register the model in model registry. And Once you save this in model registry, when you go to models, you will be seeing that in the registry.
Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to pause and take a look at the chat. So I'm just going to say, if please only post your questions that are related to Data Cloud and the topic of this code live. If you have any other questions, try posting them to our Trailblazer community. And we'll see if we can get someone over there to answer the question. But since this is a very limited 1 hour, and we do have our experts here and we don't want to give them questions that are not necessarily for them, try to keep your questions to Einstein Copilot Studio or Data Cloud. Okay, so this other question about AWS modeling, it looks like that is a question that was already answered as well. So I think we're good on the chat for questions for right now. So go ahead and proceed, Sharda.
Thank you. So once you run the notebook and you register the model, when you go to model registry in SageMaker, you will see that model showing up. Now the next step is for you to go and approve that model. Once you change the status of approved, and now when you go to services and go to pipeline, you should be able to see that pipeline there. And by pipeline, what I mean is that when we train the model, we just took the data, we processed it with the Wrangler flow, then we built our model. Now, when you're implementing your endpoint, a new data comes in, right? So the new predictors are coming in. You're going to send those new predictors as an API call to SageMaker. The post process, the steps, that pipeline has to be applied on that data point or an array of data points, and then the model scores it and sends it back to Data Cloud. So that's why it's you will need that pipeline. And the beauty of Wrangler is that you created it one time, and using that notebook, you registered it, and now it creates a pipeline for you. So you don't have to do it twice. And then once you can see that here, you now need to go and create your API gateway and the secret keys that you need so that now you can deploy it into Salesforce Data Cloud. So here the steps are documented, but once you go to API gateway, you can then go in and create that gateway point right here. And once again, if you did not scan the QR code, Danielle will show it again, but those steps, those steps will be are there and documented with screenshots. So please follow that documentation. Okay, so what we've seen so far is you had the training data set in Data Cloud. You came to SageMaker, you ingested that training data set, you built, you trained your model, you registered and approved your model, and then you created the endpoint. Along with you created that API gateway. Now, all that you have to do in AWS is done. The next step now is to go to Salesforce and deploy the model. Everyone's good with what we saw so far. Any questions, Danielle?
We do have one question, so let's go ahead and show the question. So in this example, we uploaded a CSV. Can AWS read directly from Data Cloud to build this model?
Yeah.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you can do that as well. You can read from Data Cloud. What we're also going to have, and we're going to pilot soon, is bring your own lake. Essentially, you will be able to have bi-directional sharing in a zero-copy fashion between AWS and Salesforce. But yes, you'll be able, you'll be able to read. Right now, you can read directly from Data Cloud. Using the connector that was shown, so that reads directly from Data Cloud without giving any copies. And you can also access it back within a Salesforce as well. We're also going to have a pilot with Redshift, so you'll be able to read Data Cloud data from Redshift and back. That will be available early next year.
Yes.
Thank you, Dara. And the screen that Mohit was just showing, that's where you can actually read. So this is the connector that AWS created. And then you can write your own SQL query to pull in the data from Data Cloud objects.
Great question. We have a lot of good questions today, so thanks, chat.
Just one quick thing, all of the DMOs, DLOs, all of these objects that are shown here are directly from Data Cloud onto SageMaker. So that means that there's zero copy when you're accessing or when you're running SQL queries, anything of the sort. It is directly on the SageMaker on the Data Cloud objects without any copy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Daryl. So, if any other questions, Tanya?
I don't see any right now.
Perfect. Okay, so our work with the AWS side is done. Now let's go back to Data Cloud. And now we are in the Data Cloud UI. Let's open Einstein Studio first. So, uh, yeah. Now, here, when you click on Einstein Studio, from the drop down, you can select Einstein Studio. And then if you click on the new button, then you can start setting it up. But in the interest of time, we are going to just open up a model that's already deployed. So please click on product recommendation. So the first thing you need to do is put in the model name and your API name. It's the usual Salesforce screen that you're seeing here. Then you need to create the endpoint. And when you create the endpoint, you need to put in the SageMaker inference URL along with the secret keys. And that's what, when you created your API gateway, you had those. So the URL as well as the keys. So once you enter that, now you need to set up the predictor variables. And by that, what I was showing you when we were in the slide, the customer demographics, the cases, their engagements with web, all of that are called predictor variables. And you have to set that up. Now here you can, these predictors are already in a DMO in Data Cloud. So you just take that and you have to set it up. Now, one thing to note here is that the order in which you're setting it up here is extremely important. It's the same order in which you queried the data and you processed it in the pre-processing flow. So extremely critical that you follow the same order, because this is the order in which Data Cloud is going to send that array of predictors to SageMaker. So make sure you set that up correctly. It's a very easy UI to set it up. You just have to drag and drop from the DMOs. And then once you do that, go to output. Now you need to create a DMO which will store the output. So you will be creating a product predictions DLO or DLM or DMO, and then the predictions will come back as a JSON key. So this is where you're going to store it. Now, the nice part about this is it stores the ID and is part of the unification process. So from the individual record, you're unifying it. So the predictions are coming in, and now you can use that segmentations and activations. And the one other thing I did want to mention here before I show it to hand it over to Mohit is this is real-time streaming. As your data is changing, as you are creating new customers in Salesforce and the data is coming in, you can score the data. So you have two options, streaming as well as batch, but you have the ability to score these records as they come in. Daryl, do you have anything else to add here?
No, I think you summarized it well. Yeah, we have batch, we have streaming as well, and yeah, you can use it in Flow and Apex, like Mohit is going to show.
Correct. And what I really like about this is the UI to set it up is so easy. So thank you, Daryl. It's extremely easy to set this up. No code. You didn't have to write a single line of code. You just have to set it up, drag and drop the predictors you want, and voila, it's set up.
Thank you, Sharda. Thank you to the rest of the team as well.
Okay. Now Mohit's going to show you how you can use this within flows and marketing segmentations.
Okay, so let me go ahead and bring Mo back onto the show. Welcome, Mo.
Hey everyone. Happy to be back. Luckily, touch wood, we didn't have like connection issues. After that thing happened.
Yes.
But here's where the fun starts actually as a Salesforce developer. Shraddha is a data scientist here. She's done all the work for us to create that model and host it in AWS, like Shraddha was explaining, right? So Shraddha was telling us how she was able to use one of the algorithms, which I, as a machine learning enthusiast, I'm still learning it. But I don't have to do that because data scientist is going to do that for me, right? Shraddha has done that work for me. Now, how would I consume all those predictions, right, that are coming into my Salesforce workflow? And that is what I'm going to show today. So here, as you can see, we are in the Einstein Studio, and Sharda walked us through how we can set the endpoint, and how we can map input variables from our DLM objects in Data Cloud to the endpoints, the inference endpoints of AWS, and then get a predicted outcome, and then again store back into the Data Cloud as both, as a real time thing through the streaming or to the batch mode, right? But then how do I bring this into the flow of work, like flows, right? So let's take an example of that. So what I'm showing now here is a simple opportunity record here, right? So on an opportunity record, what I want to do is, as soon as, let's say, an opportunity is created, maybe, based on some variables that are there in the opportunity, I want to start predicting, because I have that model already in my Einstein Studio, right? So to do that, right, what platform allows us to do is bring that same model, this product recommendation that you saw, into the flow. So what I can do here is I can go here and say product recommendation, and you can see it gives me all, I can obviously put label and API names, but more importantly, what you see here is it gives me all the variables that I need to input. Now you know that you can map these variables with anything that is coming from your objects. Like, let's say you're working with opportunity object, maybe, I want to map certain things like campaign in this case, or if there are any cases related to that opportunity, I want to summarize them and put it as case count. Some of these variables are coming from, let's say, some cases. Maybe there are clicks related to that opportunity and engagement score that I've captured in those opportunities, right? Or data segments or entities that are related to. So I can easily map that, right? So once I map that, and in the interest of time, I have mapped it here, right? So once I map that, you can see that whenever an opportunity is created, I'm able to make that call out to that model and pass in these variables from my Data Cloud, right, to this inference, or through this model, right, and get the prediction back. I'll show you how. Let's actually debug this, right? So I'm just gonna simply say debug, because we can now debug flows. I really like that capability. So we can say run immediately. I'm going to say run asynchronously. Now this is important because that in triggers or flows, you cannot like synchronously call a third party API in Salesforce, right? So it always needs to be asynchronous. Now it's asynchronous, that means it's going to run in a minute or so. Well, that's fine, that we can consider that as near real time. But let's say I have an opportunity that I'm creating, I'm going to run that opportunity. So you can see it'll go and execute that flow. So it has went through that. So you can see that this, I didn't have any start criteria, but you see the variables that got mapped here. And then you can see there was a product recommendation that is coming. Paramount peak convertible pants. That's the product recommendation that is coming for these set of variables from our model that Sharda just showed us, right? So it's the same model that Sharda has. But a lot of you might ask me like, hey, this is flows, right? What if I'm an ISV and I'm creating my own Apex classes, right?
Okay, before we move
So,
on, because we have someone that wants to see something in the flow, and then we
yeah,
have a couple questions.
yeah.
So the first question is Data Cloud freely available like the dev orgs, or we have to reach out to AEs for access? So this is a very good question. There is a free tier that is now available for select customers. Our best recommendation is to actually reach out to your AE to find out the actual details around all of this. So that would be your best point of contact. But there is now a free tier that is available that was announced at Dreamforce. Okay, more closely to what you're showing now, Mo, is please show the API call out in the flow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's the beauty of it, right? There
Mhm.
is no API call out in the flow because you're not writing that Einstein Studio, right? Daryl's team has done all the work for us. So once you configure all of them, like we have configured these product recommendation model here, right? That's the power of thing, right? So for example, if I actually go edit this flow, I can have that same model, right? This model product recommendation appear right here within my flows. Okay, so all that I have to do is just map that, and it takes care of doing all the API calls behind the scene. You're not writing any lot of code here. So there's no code, like there's no, I'm not using this. I know a lot of you fancy this new thing called HTTP callout. I think, what do we call? I think we call it as callout or something. So there's a way you can do now HTTP callouts in flows.
Flows, yep.
Uh, yeah, I know,
Typically
I
how
know
it
that. But you don't have to do that, because they have taken care of all those things behind the scenes. This whole thing gets exposed as its own component. That's the whole point here. So I hope that clarified.
I think it does. So we have a comment here that says wow. So I think that's a good wow. I'm hoping it's a good wow.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's like, okay, like, give me all the models that you have. Like, I'm like, Shada, give me all the models that you have in your AWS, right? And let me just use it in Salesforce without writing any code, and just configure using this Einstein Studio, which Daryl's team has, like, built out for us. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep configuring and then keep using it. So I have to concentrate only on my business use case, right? And let, like, the hard work that's already done by my data scientists, right, in AWS, so I can leverage that. So that's the value add.
And just to point out here, it's an amazing value add, because data scientists would build these models, it'll be standalone. But now with this, you can bring in all those predictions in real time, in the flow of work within Salesforce, and using all Salesforce's automation capabilities. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Daryl and team.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great feature, and that's why we wanted to show you how simple it is, and how we can, like, make, how it's so much reusable it is. Let's put it this way.
All right.
Any other questions, Daniel, before I kind of show you something more cool
No,
and complex?
go ahead and move forward.
Okay. Yeah, so the next thing that I want to show is, I know a lot of you are Apex developers. I love Apex. I just love Apex because, it's cool. It lets you automate business processes with code, and there are scenarios where you would need some complex things like code, like Apex code specifically. So how about, once you have this thing configured, right? Like, for example, this model configured here, I can also invoke this model in my Apex. So I can write a little bit of Apex. I'll show you how. So for that, you will need, so here I'm creating a simple class called product recommendation service, and has a method called get recommendations. So note this thing, invocable.action.create custom action. So there is a custom action that is available, and this is a standard method, by the way. Now here, there's a new thing called CDP get ML prediction. So this is very new, and this is relevant to this Einstein model builder, right? Copilot Studio Einstein model builder. So this is relevant to that. So you put CDP get ML prediction here as your custom action name, and then you put your model name that you have configured. So product recommendation is your model name. Remember, our API name here is model recommendation. So once you put a little bit of code like this, right, create that action class. After that, you can set the invocation parameters. Like, for example, club member was an invocation parameter, campaign state. Note that you will need, like, param underscore. That's how it works. So you set all the parameters. Now remember, this can be, I'm hard coding the values, but imagine, it could be a SOQL query that you're writing from different object, or maybe you're making a third-party API call out to some other system and getting that data, and then you can populate these parameter values. So here, for in the interest of time and to show you something really hello world, I've just hard-coded these values, right? So once you do that, you can say action.invoke, and from here, what you will do is, once you can read for whether the invocation was success or not. And note, I'm not writing that HTTP callout code. There's no HTTP callout code, because this action is automatically doing this magic for me in the platform. So if it is successful, all I do is I say, okay, results, give me the results, get me the output parameters, and then I can look for that output parameter called product recommendations. And I'm just mapping it to a wrapper class to show you the response, right? This is you can map to any custom object or any custom model that you can create in Apex. It depends on your business use case at this point, but really the idea is just invoke that Apex class, get the values, and then further use them in your business process. Now let me show How about we run this? So let me show you that, we're not doing any smoke and mirrors today. This is actual product live. So let's actually run that. So here I have I'm calling that service, as you can see, product recommendation dot, and this is a static method. So I'm calling that get recommendations. So I'm calling that. Ideally, maybe this would have some parameters if you wanted to dynamically control these parameters. But then, in the interest of the time, as I said, no, I'm not passing any parameters, just hard coding at this point. But then you can say execute here. What's it saying? One
Live
second.
code also gets
So
live
live code.
errors.
Yes. So I think I just have to reload my project. I'm just going to reload my project. It's been sitting down here for quite some time. So let's reload it. Otherwise, you know what? If the tooling doesn't work, there are multiple ways to make it work. So we are live, and that's why I love live code, because I can show you some debugging too, right? I can show you what goes behind like debugging some of these. So let's try once more. If not, there are other ways to execute this. So now it's running that execute anonymous. There you go.
There
You
we
see,
go.
you see. So here we've called it. The result is Paramount Peak convertible pants. That's like my favorite product from today. So I'm able to call that and get the response, as you can see. So you can see there is no HTTP callout involved. We just configured things and we are able to consume that model both from our flows and Apex. And one thing I did not show, and maybe we can pop in the documentation for that, is you can also write some sockle statements directly, and that sockle statement will do the prediction automatically for you. There's a
Super
blog
cool.
post. Yeah, super cool. Like you just write a sockle and that has the predicted value. I think we wrote a blog post on that. You can find that. I'll try to find the blog post. So that's another way. If you want to just write a sockle and get the prediction right away in that sockle, you can do that as well. Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. So you can use your prediction models in Apex and get an one-off prediction. So we got the pants from using this in our Apex. That's really, really cool. You can do the same in Flow as well. So make sure, if you haven't already, you tune into our Release Readiness Live episode that's on Salesforce Plus. Not to put our dev marketing team on the spot here, but if you could find that link for me to post it into the chat, that would be great. And also, don't forget to also scan this QR code. I've seen a couple new people come in and come out of the YouTube. So here's the QR code once more. And this basically details the administrative steps to get all of this set up. And then you can always, connect with our Trailblazer community or our developer.salesforce.com site. So here we have that, which is our developer.salesforce.com site, which is where we have multiple blog posts. Daryl and Mo wrote a really good blog post about a month or so ago on the integration between Einstein Studio. We'll get the naming updated. Right now, you'll probably still find it under the search terms Einstein Studio. So we'll work on getting those namings updated. And then also, there's always help at the Trailblazer Salesforce Community Developers Group. It's almost like there's always help at Hogwarts. Well, there's always help at the Trailblazer Community Salesforce Developers Group. Okay, we have our dev advocates there. We have our MVPs there. They will answer a multitude of questions. So I know we're coming up on the end of the stream. I want to give it back to, are you all wrapped up with your
There is
demo?
one question here showing the code. So do you see there is a new
Okay,
question?
there we go. Okay, one question. Thanks for keeping me honest. So show in the code how the Apex is linked to the model. The call out specified in the model. Let me go ahead and show that question. There we go.
Yeah, so to show you that, very simple. You can see that this is the invocable action name called CDP get ML prediction, and then product recommendation is the model name. So you see this is the model that we configured, model name. So that's what we are using here. So you need the the CDP get ML prediction. That's the custom action name. So let's say you have a new model, you just need to swap it with the name here. So this is the name. And then there's no call out. Actually, you said the call out is specified in the model. Yes, the call out is specified in the model. So we just provide parameters, invocation parameters to the models, which is the feature elements that were exposed to us, and then we read the output. So yeah, that's how it's linked. Like this name that you put as a second parameter to the create custom action, That's your model name, actually. There you go. Back to you, Daniel.
Okay. And so we're going to send it over to Daryl because we always love roadmaps and what to know about what's coming in the future. It gets us all excited. So let's go ahead and send this over to Daryl so we can show what's new and what's coming out.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, Sharda and Mohit, for that excellent demo. Really appreciate it. Now I'd like to talk a little bit more about one of our upcoming products, which is our no-code builder. We are going to pilot this starting in October, and we will GA this in February. With this no-code builder, you can create predictive AI within Salesforce directly without needing to use any external AI platforms. So it's an intuitive and easy-to-use no-code experience. You can also use it within the same existing tools that we've showed you, such as Flow and Apex. So some of the things that you can predict are, for example, with sales, you can look at with service likelihood of escalation, with finance, forecasting revenue and late payments, etc. So a lot of the use cases that you see across all of the different clouds, you can do that with the no-code builder as well. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for joining our live stream. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us via your Salesforce account executive.